The Heisman Trophy is the standard when it comes to judging college football excellency. But should it be? When you take a look at the history of the Heisman Trophy winners, it's always a popular player from a brand name school. But they don't always give it to the best player. Hell, sometimes they give it to a But not all of the former Heisman winners are killers. Some are merely degenerates, weed addicts, and Ron Dane. Even though they came close this year, the Heisman Trophy is not the most accurate award when it comes to judging the best player in college football. Actually, it's not even close. But which one is? And is there a better way to determine who the best player really is? Well, let's find out right after this. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. The Heisman Trophy, named after player and coach John Heisman, has been awarded to the most outstanding player in college football every year since Jay Berwanger in 1935. Fun fact, Berwanger turned down the Chicago Bears for a job at a rubber company, which at the time paid more than the NFL. He later regretted the decision. The people who actually vote on the award are made up of 870 sports writers and broadcasters, all of the previous Heisman winners, the living ones of course, and the fans, who account for a grand total of one Heisman vote. The accounting firm Deloitte tabulates all the votes and then sends them to the Heisman Trust, who announces the winner on ESPN at the end of the regular season. Ohio State running back Archie Griffin is the only player to win two Heismans in 1974 and 75. Johnny Manziel became the first redshirt freshman to win the trophy in 2012. Despite the existence of Mike Evans, Lamar Jackson is the youngest winner at 19 years and 338 days old. Joe Burrow is the most decisive winner in Heisman history. He earned 90% of the vote. Noticing a theme here? First, let's look at the biases involved. In 2015, two running backs who couldn't have been more opposite were battling for the Heisman. In one corner, you had Alabama's bruising Derrick Henry, a freight train that played behind one of college football's best offensive lines and beat up quality SEC opponents in every matchup. In the other corner, you had the West Coast answer, Stanford's Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, light and agile, played a different but just as effective brand of football, running the ball, catching passes, and returning kicks. And of course, the most glaring, obvious difference. McCaffrey's GPA was 0.1 higher. On paper, both were strong candidates, but the edge should have gone to McCaffrey. The Stanford running back had Henry beaten by about 400 scrimmage yards, plus 1,000 return yards. Henry had the edge in touchdowns, but McCaffrey had run, caught, returned, and thrown for touchdowns in 2015. He had also beaten Barry Sanders' single-season record for all-purpose yards. But at the Heisman ceremony, it was Henry's name who got called. A surprise if you look solely at the numbers, but perhaps less shocking factoring in two intangibles. Henry played for the best, most recognizable team in the nation. And just as importantly, he played while the voters were still awake. Wait, what? McCaffrey was a victim of bias. No, not because he was white. Because he played in Pacific Standard Time. 87% of McCaffrey snaps in 2015 were after 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, well after the geriatric voters on the Eastern Seaboard had passed out. This is also likely the reason Andrew Luck, considered one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, finished second place in Heisman voting in both 2010 and 2011. Toby Gerhart, another Stanford running back, suffered a similar fate as McCaffrey, losing out to another Alabama back, Mark Ingram. If you look at the distribution of votes, you'll find that while they try to dole them out evenly among the country, it doesn't quite work out that way. Political consultant and sports commentator Kari Chisholm wrote this in 2003 regarding the voting system's inherent bias. For Heisman voting purposes, the nation is divided into 6 regions, each of which gets 145 votes. 3 regions, Far West, Midwest, and Mid-Atlantic, have larger populations than 16.7% of the national population, and 3 have less, Northeast, South, and Southwest. So what he's saying is this: the Far West region, aka schools like Cal, USC, and Stanford, are in the most populous region but get the same number of voters as the least populous region, the Northeast. Historically, about 18% of Heisman winners have been Pac-12 players like OJ, Marcus Allen, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and Jim Plunkett. But in the last decade and a half, the only Pac-12 player to win it was Marcus Mariota in 2014. Of course, there's another factor in play that would explain why fewer and fewer West Coast players get the award as time passes. It's the age of the voters. It's not rocket science. These people get older, they go to bed earlier, and their vote remains the same. Like politicians, it's time to give them term limits to Heisman voters. If you can't stay up to watch Pac-12 after dark or at least hit the record button on your remote, relinquish your vote, boomer. But unfortunately, that won't solve the most obvious bias of all. This video is brought to you by Sheath. Being a guy is tough sometimes, especially when, despite the temperature outside, your area down below is always a hot, sticky jungle. Welcome to Sheath, the boxer briefs that actually keep things separated down there. Okay, if I need to spell it out for you, it keeps your balls off your legs. Traditional boxers don't do this. They'll have you playing dinkerball all day and making you about as comfortable as Daniel Jones in the pocket during a blitz. Sheath underwear has 3 individual compartments to keep things cool, in order, and very nice. Less chafing, less smell, more better. Sheath was invented by a US Army vet who got the idea during his second tour in Iraq when he was literally getting his balls roasted off. So after this video, use the link below or go to sheathunderwear.com/5points. Pop in my code 5points at checkout and get 20% off. You got something for the holidays. Now get something for your 2 best friends. Again, that's sheathunderwear.com/5points and use code 5points at checkout for 20% off. No more dinkerball. Sheath underwear. So there are 2 clear biases there, but what about the biggest one? It's not school, region, or anything like that. Just look at 4 out of the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners: Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson. What do they all have in common? Oh yeah, they're all quarterbacks. How likely is it that the most outstanding player in college football just so happens to be a quarterback nearly every single year? Well, except this year. Out of the last 21 Heisman winners, 17 of them are quarterbacks. 18 if you kinda count Vince Young, who got the award later for Reggie Bush's heinous crimes. Easily the worst thing a USC running back has ever done. The last receivers to win it was Desmond Howard in 1991, and that was largely a product of his returning ability, and of course, Devonta Smith, who had a monster season this year, and the QBs he were up against were Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and post-COVID Trevor Lawrence. Since the Korean War, it's been all quarterbacks, running backs, and a trio of receivers to hoist the trophy, with one exception. Only one defensive player has won the Heisman Trophy. In 1997, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, and Randy Moss were all gunning for the Heisman Trophy. They all lost to Charles Woodson. It takes a Herculean effort as a cornerback to win the Heisman in a field of offensive players, but Woodson put together a season for the ages. 7 interceptions, a punt return touchdown, and even 3 touchdowns on limited snaps on offense. He deserved his trophy and proved it with a Hall of Fame career in the NFL, but it begs a huge question: why is he the only defender to win it? How can a trophy truly decide the best player in college football if it completely ignores one side of the game? And let's not even get started on offensive linemen and tight end. Look, I get it. No one's going to watch this ceremony if you're showing Quentin Nelson or Jonathan Ogden highlights. But there have been a ton of impactful college defenders who never got the rightful chance to hold the trophy because of the voters' massive bias towards the offensive side of the ball. The Heisman is not explicitly an offensive trophy, so why do the voters treat it as such? The Heisman may be flawed, but is there a superior alternative? The second most popular trophy is the Maxwell Award, which also seeks to find the most outstanding award in college football, but they generally don't hand out trophies to defenders any more often than the Heisman does. They snubbed Charles Woodson in favor of Peyton in '97, but they made up for it by giving Manti Te'o one in 2012. He deserved it, he was grieving. There's also the AP Player of the Year award, which has been given to Ndamukong Suh, but since 1988, the award has also been given to 17 QBs, including such world beaters as Josh Heupel, Brad Banks, and Troy Smith. Most of the hardware certified by the National College Football Awards Association are position-specific or humanitarian, so it's hard to find anything comprehensive. Side note, if you have a Ray Guy award, you are not a football player. At the end of the day, here's one way to find out who the best player in college football is. You look at the first non-quarterback that gets drafted. That might not be totally accurate all the time, and oftentimes it is a quarterback who is the best player in college football, but the only bias NFL teams have is the almighty dollar. Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Saquon Barkley, Myles Garrett. These are just the last 4 highest non-QB draft picks, all of them Pro Bowlers. Were they the best players when they were faking going to class? Maybe, maybe not. The answer at the end of it all is not to create some new award with fuzzy math that puts Notre Dame in the college football playoff every year. The Heisman will always be the most popular and most coveted award in college football. But it's on us to push the voters to do the research and vote with all regions and all positions in mind. And unlike Tim Tebow throwing a pass, accuracy should matter. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more interesting videos on sports. I'm 5Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.